Cities used to make their own coins a few thousand years ago. A lot of big coins like this one didn't make it. They would often take all those coins, melt them down, and make their own coins after taking over that city. A normal trip to a pawn shop just became the most shocking event in the history of reality TV. No one saw it coming. The whole system was turned upside down by what seemed like a normal customer with a pocket-sized antique. It wasn't just the cost. It's no longer just about Pawn Stars. It's about the things we miss every day that could make a huge difference in our lives. The coin that made everything go crazy. Pawn Stars has seen everything. Strange artifacts, valuable heirlooms, clear fakes, and amazing shocks. But no one was ready for what happened when a man with a coin he thought might be worth a lot of money walked in. He only had a story and a feeling that this wasn't just some old metal but rather something important. He had big goals. He needed $20,000 money. The shop didn't laugh this time. We can see right away that this coin is worth more than its face value. It holds a truth that is much heavier than anyone thought. This isn't the only surprise that shop has in store. You could feel the air change right away. There wasn't anything loud or flashy, but there was a quiet sense that something strange was about to happen. The coin itself was old, heavy, and shiny from being through so much history. It was the kind of thing you wouldn't think would still exist, let alone show up in a pawn shop lit by electric lights. He said it was rare. It was risky for the store owner. It was so tight that a dull knife could cut it. This coin was unique not only because of its age but also because of what it could become. The seller said it came from a family member who bought it at a sale many years ago. The truth is that I don't know much about the coin. A family friend bought it at an auction about 30 years ago and gave it to me. The value is very high based on the little study I did. In other words, I want to make about $20,000. There's no reason why I shouldn't ask for that. Things got strange after this. There were a lot of coins from the Mediterranean in the past. These were the coins that Greece, Egypt, and Sicily used. There were coins that were meant to make trading easy, but this one was different. It's bigger, better struck, and it might be real and real rare. Then the knife came out. There are 500 fake old coins for every real one. 500? That is not just a note of caution. That's a huge amount of doubt. But this one felt different in some way. The seller didn't move an inch. There was no plastic case around the coin. It wasn't velvet wrapped. No one dared to call it fake because it was sitting there raw and naked. It might be worth $10,000 to $100,000 if it's real. What year? About 400 to 360 BC, in that area. Yes. Okay. This is a scene of a charioteer crowning the winner. Who is that person on the front? This woman is Arethusa. That gap is pretty big. That's the difference between changing your life and getting better at it. But there's something strange about old coins. They're worth more than that. They have scars on their bodies. Most of them didn't make it through the fall of the towns that made them. When invaders came, they melted down the old coins to make new ones. This was done to make things easier. It was not only very unlikely that this coin would have gotten through all of that, it was almost impossible. The shop owner still wouldn't write a check without something to back it up. He got help from a pro. Not just any expert but a real fan of old coins. Who is excited about mint marks and the amount of silver and money. Who can tell a fake from a mile away. Who probably dreams about Latin and the weight of silver. He was the only one who could solve this case. Everything changed the moment he saw it. It wasn't just a coin that was in front of them. This was a Syracuse decadrome. A very important coin from about 400 BC to 360 BC. It was like a time capsule from when Greek art and wealth were at their highest. The design etched into the silver was a scene of a carriage which was royal, accurate, and historically accurate. On the other hand, Arethusa was a water nymph who was worshipped by the old world because she stood for fresh water, which is what life is all about. This wasn't just a small thing. It was history written in silver. The expert was shocked. Everything matched. The quality of the hit, the metal, the wear, and how sharp it is. No, this wasn't a fake for tourists. It was the real deal. This is the kind of item that collectors go crazy over. It wasn't cast because it had razor-sharp edges. It had been hit the right way. In other words, real. What is the value? It took the expert no time at all. $50,000. Yes. 50. Not 10. Not 20. 50. It was a number that hit the table of talks like a rocket. The seller had hoped for $20, but he just found out that his fortune could be worth more than twice that. But this is Pawn Stars, where things are never that easy. The offer came now. The shop owner had $35,000 to begin with. Okay. Yes. More than the seller wanted, but not nearly as much as the experts thought it was worth. The seller didn't move an inch. He had faith in his coin, and the person who had given it to him. He thought that if it was worth $50, he wouldn't leave with $35. Not because people were yelling or making threats, but because there was a lot of quiet in the room. A calm, well-planned tug of war. It was no longer just about the money. It had to do with proof, confidence, history, and then a new offer. $40,000. The game changed again right away. What began as a risk became a moment that went global. $40,000 when history hits you like a hammer. That number was the one that finally showed up on the table. It didn't blow up the room. There was just a long pause and a slow nod. A coin that had been sitting in a family drawer for 30 years without being touched had just become a valuable treasure. But the story didn't really end when they shook hands. That was the start of everything. What happens when money turns into history, and history turns into money? When something's value isn't just how much it's worth, but also what it means. Let's break it down. When most people see a coin, they think of spare change or maybe something to gather. But this decadum wasn't just an old thing. In that time, city-states were in charge of their own budgets, made up their own identities, and put their power on silver discs. You could buy more than just grain and goats with these coins. They were advertising, proof of power, and signs of progress. After that, they were gone, melted, hidden, or lost. Besides this one, living for thousands of years, avoiding wars, conquest, collectors, and wear and tear. It showed up in Las Vegas, where TV cameras and bright lights were shining on it. Just that fact is very hard to understand. Most things that old and important end up in museums behind bulletproof glass, not in the hands of an average customer at a pawn shop who got it through a will. How did something so valuable get here? That's the crazy part. This coin wasn't found by treasure hunters or bought on the black market. It was quietly passed down and left to rest in the dark. At some point, someone bought a coin at a sale that they thought was real and never sold it. They saved it, and maybe, just maybe, they knew what they had the whole time. Things changed though. Some people forgot. People in the family got older and their tastes changed, so the coin sat there until someone chose to check its value. That brings us back to the leader. His proof did more than just prove that the coin was real. It showed the bigger picture. Find out how many more of these are out there, hidden. How many important pieces of history are hidden not in the ground but in attics, basements, and old shoeboxes. This episode went popular for more than just the money. It was the light bulb moment. That past can show up out of the blue and demand our attention. Things got even stranger from here on out. With $40,000, the deal wasn't just a buy. It was a strong move. Because let's be honest, not many people can just spend that much money on one thing. The pawn shop wasn't just trying to make money. They put their money on fate, on the chance that this coin's value would go up even more, that someone would pay $50, $60, or even more. Coins like these don't just stay put, they rise. Not only is the silver valuable, but so is the fact that they are rare, well-made, and have a story behind them. These things are especially scary when experts say they're real. This is especially true when the whole world watches on TV and online. Think about what comes next. Collectors had seen it. The dealers saw it. History books saw it. It took longer for the Syracuse Decadrome to go spread. It turned into a lightning rod and a warning that old money still has power, even though crypto and digital currencies are all the rage these days. Power that you can feel. But most people who watched didn't know this. These coins aren't just old. They're not safe. Not in a real way, but in how they show who owns something, how much it's worth, and how much you know about it. There are many fake coins that get caught on camera for every real coin that gets caught. Some are good, some are at the master level, some can even fool the pros. That's the game. That's the risk. That's what made this moment so strong. Because everything worked this time. The pros saw it coming. It wasn't too cheap at the pawn shop. The seller didn't give up when they were pushed. In a strange way, it was the right deal. Everyone got what they wanted in the end. Sure, money changed hands, but so did trust, respect, and a reputation. But you have to think about it, was that the best thing to do? Since the story doesn't end when someone leaves with a check. The blade that people would not forget. Before something else came in, the coin wasn't even cold. There was something heavy, sharp, and quiet. Weapon. It's not a copy. Not a movie prop. A weapon. An artifact. Or a message from the past. The seller spoke softly and was careful, but she was sure of herself. The only thing he knew about it was that his grandfather had owned it, and that it was said to be worth a lot of money. He wasn't happy when he came in and asked for $40,000. The sword didn't look like it belonged to a king or queen at first glance. It did look old and fancy, but it also looked precious. They didn't see that until they took it out of its sheath. Then everything changed. The blade was shiny, sharp, well polished, heavy, and too beautiful to be normal. It was too heavy to be ritual. The strange mix of details, though, was what really stood out. Arabic writing was etched into the metal. Russian writing was pressed into the handle. The guard has Medusa's head cut into it. It looked and felt like the blade had been through more than one society and battle. It wasn't clear. It was strong. One man couldn't figure it out. That's how Arabic is written. I don't understand this one. It has Arabic writing on the blade, you know. This has Russian writing on it. It looks really fancy and put together, almost like a dress. Do you get what I mean? They did what they always do. That person was cold. They didn't just get an expert this time, they got a scholar as well. He knew about swords like some people know about place names, and he didn't think twice when he saw this one. His face turned white. His voice got weaker. He didn't need to be checked out for 5 minutes. It was clear to him. It really did belong to a Russian prince. A hussar named Ivan Ivanovich Odesky was killed by Napoleon's army at the Battle of Brienne in the winter of 1814. It wasn't just a real sword. It made history. A piece of war, death, and history. And it had lived. Arabic makes Persians stand out. The blade was brought in from another country, made to the best standards and given to a royal figure. The Russian specifics, a government advisory body. Not for show, but for the weight, balance, and build. It wasn't just meant to shine. It was made for war and cutting. It wasn't a great game. That weapon had been used in battle and remembered blood. What the expert said next turned the whole shop on its head, making that $40,000 price seem less crazy. The sword had been sold at auction before, many years ago. It sold for $30,000 back then, but it was in the wrong market. It never got to the right people, and its value has slowly gone up over the years. The expert thought that if it were put up for sale today in the right place, it could easily fetch $75, maybe even $100,000, and be seen by the right people. I think you're talking about $75 million. I believe that's all I need to hear. Okay, that wasn't just shocking. That was very loud. But here's the catch. That person didn't agree to the deal. Not even close. The owner of the sword stopped when the offer of $20,000 came in. He didn't laugh. He didn't argue back. He thought for a moment and then said no. Not because I'm mad, but because I understand. Because he didn't just have something rare. It wasn't understood right. He saw it for the first time and knew what it was. He wasn't just hearing stories about it from his grandfather. It was a real weapon from history. A real piece of art that was taken to war, lost, and almost passed off as another expensive family treasure. He took it back without any fuss, though. There was something new he knew when he left the shop. The blade was not only expensive but also famous. People didn't move along with the show, though. It didn't tell how much the clip cost. It told what it meant. It spread even faster than the coin. That it's better to say no sometimes than yes. What you know can make things more valuable faster than cash. That past doesn't care what bid you make first. It cares about history, context, and the truth. And now people are looking at their own things in a new way. The painting that set its own price. The sword left the store. Someone else owned the coin now. But then something strange happened. It had smooth edges, bright colors, and a name that echoed through art history like smoke in a church. Marc Chagall was one of the last great modernist painters who did more than just paint.
He painted dreams on the wall. Someone was selling one of his works and it was in their hands. Someone could fold up a picture and bring it in with them just like they would a textbook. But what came next shocked more than just the shop. A whole crowd was shocked. The person selling wanted $1,000. She knew it was valuable, but she didn't know how much. It was from a rich aunt. It didn't go with the style. It didn't have anything personal about it. It was there all the time. But now it was in the store. And things were about to change because the name at the bottom wasn't just any name. It was Chagall, who rethought Parisian art and painted the ceilings of the Paris Opera House. He mixed the magical and the everyday so well that they were hard to tell apart. A chance to visit Paris. Okay. To the Opera House in Paris. The whole ceiling was painted. Oh my gosh. And it looks like a print. Graph is writing and litho is stone. Okay. The piece wasn't just a fuzzy copy either. It was from his well-known Daphnis and Chloe series. It is one of the most famous graphic books of our time. The shop owner took a look and called for help right away. Here comes the expert. He not only knew Chagall, but he also looked up to him. Officer Brixus's dream was on the bar. This is one of the most well-known panels from the Daphnis and Chloe collection. It is a lithograph, but not just any print. Chagall didn't just happen to find this art form. He learned about printing when he was 63 years old. But when he did, he changed it. Working with Marollo, who was the best printer at the time, Chagall combined the skill of a painter with the accuracy of a printer. As a result, bright, colorful pictures were made that went against what most people thought stone and ink could do. It was a double panel in this picture, which is not common in the collection. Even with a small fold, it was important for both history and money. The expert did what he was sent to do. After putting the numbers together, his answer was calm and surprising. $8,000. That's how much it would sell for in a store in New York or San Francisco. Not just because of the artist, but also because of what the picture meant. Color, story, mythology, and feeling are carefully pressed into paper. The seller went cold. She had asked for $1,000 when she came in. She now had a note worth 8 times that amount in her hands. The question now wasn't how much it was worth like with the coin and the sword before her, but how much she was willing to take. The store gave her $3,000. She asked for $6,000. They got off at $4,500. And just like that, another moment went viral. I will give you $4,000. $5,000. You can have $4,500. Not a single penny more. I'll take $45,000. Okay then. Not from disagreement or surprise, but from being shown something new. Because it was the third time that something came into the shop pretending to be normal and then turned out to be something strange. It was no longer a TV show. It showed how history, worth, and art are often overlooked until someone takes the time to discover them. What is this really worth will not be asked until someone does. And now for the fun part. This wasn't a set. No one messed with it. People came in with real objects and left changed because they had learned something no one had told them before. It doesn't matter how much you paid for that value. It has to do with what you know. The person who sold coins got an extra $40,000. The owner of the sword kept his prize and left with a newfound respect for the history of his family. The Chagall picture went from being a piece of decor to making money. That's not all that made this go viral though. It made me think about how we all take care of the past in our own small ways. That the things we don't think are important may be worth more than we think. And that the pawn shop was the site of something much bigger than business deals more than once. Truth was put to the test there. The real money isn't the thing itself, whether it's metal, steel, or ink. That's the story. Could Pawn Stars be more than just a store? Could it be a way to find things that are worth more than we think? Would you be able to spot a piece of history in your attic before someone else did? Tell us what you think. Don't forget to like and follow for more.